So today we're going to learn how to use our paint chip papers. So you guys got in your packet papers with 3 paint chips on them. These are the 3 primary colors: yellow, magenta, we call this magenta, red, and cyan for blue. Magenta and cyan and yellow are the colors they use in printers to get true purples and oranges and greens. Those are your secondary colors. With these 3 primary colors, you can make every color on the color wheel, just like you saw or you read in the example that I had posted. So what you're going to do is you are going to use a black crayon, and you're going to use the lines from your name, like we've been practicing for the last couple weeks, on your big paper now to make a nice composition. Composition is the way everything is arranged on your paper. So how I like to start for this project is just to draw a line here down my paint chips. That now this space here, this is my paper I'll be working with, where I want all my lines to go to. Now my paper is a little bit bigger than my screen, but you guys get the idea. So now you're going to put the letters of your name going from one edge to the other edge to fill your paper and create shapes. I am using my name, and you can move your paper around in different directions. Make sure all those lines are touching other lines. And I don't want my shape here too small, so I'm not going to go here because I think that would be too small. You can decide where you want to put lines and where you don't want to put lines. And then I've got a round shape here and a round shape here, so my E, I think I'll put it here. So I have these nice 3 round shapes kind of going in a pattern, and then my E is going off the paper, coming back over here. So I have a smaller shape here, some bigger shapes, medium-sized shapes, and then my last letter, I think I'll do like this, right through there. So you can make those letters even different. There's a big N, but what I've created is a design that is interesting. So now I'm ready to paint it in. Double check that all your lines are touching other lines so that you've made shapes. I have students a lot say, well, I have an I in my name, so they just do this. Well, make that line touch other lines for your I. So that line's going to come all the way down here and all the way up there. Or they have the letter C or S, and they just do this. Make sure that goes all the way to the edge or to another line. So now I've made shapes. Okay. Now for the paint chips, what you're going to need is some kind of a paintbrush and a cup of water. What you want to do is you need to use the water to activate the paint. So when you're mixing these, you can get orange here, yellow and red, or magenta make orange, red or magenta and cyan or blue make purple. So you mix your purples here, and then the cyan and the yellow are going to make the green. So what you want to first do is get your paintbrush wet, and then you're going to just need to rub on that paint chip to release or activate the paint. Can you see the yellow paint on there? I always like to just paint with yellow first, because the yellow paint chip is the one that gets dirty the fastest, because it's the lightest color. So as I paint, I pull my paintbrush. Don't push your paintbrush. Paintbrushes don't like to be pushed around. Just like us, nobody likes to be pushed around. And as I paint, I'm going to dip my paintbrush back in the water. I just dip it real fast though. Watch this. I just dip real fast to get some water on my paintbrush. I'm not rinsing it. I'm not letting it swim around in there, because I don't want to lose all the yellow that's on there. But I need a little bit more water on my paint chip to, again, activate that paint. And then maybe I'll paint some yellow over here. I'm thinking about balancing those colors out. I don't want all my yellow in one spot and then have no yellow over here. We want to have balanced paintings. Now I'm going to make some orange. So again, I still want to keep that yellow on there because I need yellow to mix with my magenta to make orange. So I just dip the paintbrush real fast. And then on the side closest to the yellow, I'm going to rub that magenta paint chip to release that magenta. And I mean, I'm pushing kind of hard on that paint chip to release the pigment. So now I have, you can see all the magenta on my paintbrush. So now I'm going to mix it over here with my yellow. I don't want to use the whole paint chip because I need to save that yellow for making some green and also for making more yellow. So I just pull some of the yellow off, mix it with my magenta, and it starts to turn orange. Now let's see how that looks. That is a really nice orange. I'm going to use all the paint on my paintbrush. I don't want to waste that paint. So I'm pulling my paintbrush and painting neatly. Now you can see how my paintbrush isn't getting a lot of paint off, right? This is called dry brush. Dry brush. Brush is dry. Just dip it in a little bit more water because I can see the orange on there. Just a little bit. I'm not rinsing it. And then watch what happens. Just by dipping it and adding more water, the paint comes off. Now this paint is really light, this color. This is called value. This is a very light orange. If I want my value darker, then I'm going to dip my paintbrush and rub a little bit more pigment off of those paint chips, and that will make the value of the color darker or brighter. Watch how much brighter this is going to be. See how much brighter that orange is? Because I got more pigment off of the paint chip. The pigment is just the paint, basically. So if you paint the color, if you want it darker, rub a little bit more of the pigment off the paint chip. All right, now I'm going to rinse my paintbrush. This is when my paintbrush will swim at the bottom of the container. Now we'll make some green. So I'm going to come over here to this cyan paint chip, and I have some cyan on there. And then I'm going to just rub it a little bit over here on the yellow. See how it starts to turn into green? And I'm going to put that right here. Oh, that is a beautiful yellow green. Now that's yellow green on our color wheel. But suppose I want to make more of a grass green. Oh, and I'm kind of running out of paint here, so I'm going to dip the water, get a little bit more pigment, Notice how I'm just using a part of my yellow paint chip, not the whole thing, because I want to keep that paint chip clean for when I still need pure yellow. Wow, look how much darker the value of that green is. So I'm painting neatly, pulling my paint chip. And now if I want a more, that's a beautiful grassy green color. But I want a little bit more of a sea foam or maybe teal. So I'm going to get more of the cyan off my paint chip. And let's see how different this color is. Wow, it's still green, but it's a different value of green. So this is a yellow green, this is more of a blue green, or maybe even just a green green. Let's see if we could get a real blue green. So again, I'm going to dip, not rinsing. Look at how clean my water still is because I'm not rinsing the paint off. Your water cup should still be pretty clean if you're doing this correctly. I'm going to get just a tad of yellow because I want this to be more of a blue green. It's a little bit different value from this one here. Wow, I love these different values of color. And again, I just dipped a little bit more of my paintbrush in the water so that I released the paint because I can still see the cyan on there. So I'm going to dip in the water, just a little bit of water, not a ton, but enough to release that paint. All right. Well, artists, I hope you enjoy using paint chips. And here's the great thing about paint chips. When you are done with your painting, you can actually cut right along here on this line, let your paint chips dry, because there's still plenty of paint on here, right? So certainly don't throw it away, because you can still use these paint chips. So even though my painting here is finished, I can let my paint chips dry, and I can get a piece of copy paper, or gosh, you could even use a grocery bag from the grocery store, a brown grocery bag. You could cut that and you could paint on that if you don't have drawing paper at home. And you can do a lot more paintings with these paint chips. You will know when the paint chip is used up, because what will happen is the color will disappear. See how this paint chip is starting to turn white right here? So when it starts to turn white, you know there's no paint left on it. Then you know your paint chip is all used up and you can throw it away at that point. But if you still see magenta, or you still see yellow, or you still see cyan over here, don't throw it away. You have a lot of paint left on there. Use that paint to create another picture. All right, so the month of January, you guys are just finishing up your painting of your abstract name. And then if you have, like I said, paint chips left over, you still have paint on those paint chips, you can do a painting of your own, a bonus painting. So that's what we're doing the month of January. All right, I hope you enjoy this project, artists.